it's
with
crazy
coyotes, with coyotes bringing them across. They're right.
Yeah, correct. Because sometimes I would run into kids who tell me a coyote told me exactly how to get to your shelter. Is what they would tell me. They told me how many steps to walk north of here, where to turn, and they told me to, if I run into any border patrol agent, to say that I'm a minor, that I'm underage, that I'm gonna run into a building, a shelter, a Walmart type of shelter that's gonna have food for me, that's gonna have laundry services for me, and it would get so suspicious because the kids were being told by the coyotes exactly the way an NGO runs a Walmart shelter. And it gets you thinking, how the hell do coyotes know the system on this side, Because they're supposedly only on the Mexico side, and they're not from the U.S., these coyotes, and they're not government employees. So how do they know what to expect in the shelter? It's insane. And the other insane part is these Walmart shelters also have babies. I've escorted myself. I can personally myself say I picked up a baby that's 5 months old, 8 months old, 4 months old, and escorted them to a sponsor. And how the hell do you realize who a sponsor is for this child when they can't even talk?
So that's awful. The whole thing is awful, but who are these sponsors then? I know some reports are that these are mostly, at least in Florida, from reports I've heard, wealthy Americans who are paying for these children. But first of all, who are these sponsors? Do you when you interact with them, is there a representative for the sponsors that you're meeting face to face, or is it the sponsor, his or herself, who is meeting you face to face?
This deal from Dr. Squatch is actually kind of a game changer. Dr. Squatch is having a deal.
The sponsor is supposed to be meeting me face to face, because their ID is the one that I can only accept. So they're supposed to be at the airport, but a lot of the times it does not happen. And these sponsors are supposedly family members. They can be an aunt or an uncle. They're supposedly a stepmother. They're supposedly a stepfather. They're supposedly a sister or a brother or a cousin. Sometimes they're even family friends. But it's like, how do you prove that this is a family friend? Or how do you prove this is a cousin when you don't even do DNA testing anymore at the border when it comes to the current administration? And how are you... So these people are just calling up and saying, hey, yeah, that's my cousin, and that's it. I'm willing to take him in.
And you as an employee, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you thought you were reuniting families up until you didn't? Like, what was the moment you decided, wait a second, I need to blow the whistle on this. This is not what I thought it was?
So, yes, you get into this type of work because you think you can make a difference. You think it's these kids who are, and they have been through a lot, but you want to help them out and make them smile by buying them a snack at the airport, a toy at the airport. Because children are innocent, no matter what, children, they don't know what they're doing, and they should be kept out of issues that are tearing our country apart. So you try to make their day better, but then I started hearing horror stories from my coworkers. My coworkers used to tell me my child that I escorted was crying because they said that they did not know the sponsor that I was taking them to. And they were telling me, please, sir, I don't want to go to the sponsor. I don't know them. At the campsite where I was, at the Walmart shelter where I was, they told me that I supposedly know the sponsor, that the sponsor is supposedly my uncle or my aunt, but I've never met him. I don't remember. And my coworker would say, but I don't care. I still handed the child off even though the child was crying because I wanted to go out and party. And the reason why my coworker says that is because once we had the child off, we're allowed to go have our own thing. If we're in Los Angeles and we hand the children off at the airport, we're allowed to go out into the city because our flight doesn't happen until the next day. a return flight. So the rest of the night we're free. And a lot of my coworkers were 18, 19 years old, 21 years old, taking care of teenagers. And their main worry was, oh, man, I want to go to the bar already. I want to go to a concert that's happening in downtown LA. But the sponsor is taking forever, or this child is crying, and I just want to hand them off. So they would hand the children off, even though they were showing signs of, I don't know the sponsor. And then I used to think my coworkers were lying or they were exaggerating. Because I would tell myself my coworker just wants attention. So they're acting like, and as sick as it is, people like attention that way. And I would brush it off saying there's no way that's true. But then one day I received an email from my boss admitting in a company email that we handed off children to the wrong people. And all the stories that I would hear from coworkers immediately just hit me hard in my face. And I had a big panic attack and I couldn't breathe. And the reason why is because I also would get stories from kids where a child wouldn't want to talk. And when I would get to the sponsor would tell me he's not talking because his sibling was with him and she got raped in Mexico and she got murdered in Mexico as well. So these children go through crazy situations like that. And then they tell me these stories. And then you get an email from your own boss telling you, we fucked up. We gave children to the wrong people. And the reason why it's so sickening is because in my office alone, there was about 300 of us, 200 to 300 of us. I would say at the most 400 employees. And each one of us can sometimes have 6 kids, 8 kids at a time. And the word around the company was that the boss had found records of us handing off kids to the wrong people for an entire month. So each day there's escorts going out. So that's thousands of kids for an entire month that were handed off to the wrong people. And could you just imagine a company that's working for the government admits in an email to we gave kids to the wrong people? You just lose your entire faith in the company, in the system. And it's like, what am I doing here? I can't be part of this anymore. So that's why I decided to speak out, because the company themselves admitted we're trafficking kids.
And it's all happening right in front of our eyes, and the United States government is funding it. So these facilities, they're making their money from the United States government. And so if you drive up to this, like one of these Walmart facilities, you'll be met with guards at the gate, right? I mean, guards that are telling you, you're not allowed to come in here. And how many kids are we talking about are at these facilities like this, these former Walmart facilities? Are we talking hundreds, thousands?
Well, the Walmart that was shared on your show, I think you guys shared it, or you guys talked about it, that's about 1,500 to 2,000 kids. But that's not the only Walmart down here where I live. We have about 4 or 5 of them.
And these are former Walmarts, right? So these are giant facilities, former Walmarts that are housing these children. Are they like sleeping in cots and beds? And they're just there waiting to be, is it right for me to say, sold off to these people around the country? I mean, that's the best way to describe it, right?
It's the best way to describe it. You're right to say that, because just the way the company had made it in an email to, hey, transportation specialist, you're taking the wrong documents and you're giving kids off to the wrong people. It's an open world of possibilities of what's happening, And God bless Michael and Ann, because Michael, Ann, and then another gentleman by Ryan Matter from Live Free America TV and Mudracker.com. These are just some independent journalists who've come down here and have been exposing this whole thing. And when they came down here, they were met with aggressiveness. They were met with, we're going to call the police. You can't be here. You can't take pictures. And they have signs like it says media tour. You can request a media tour. But when Michael and Ryan and Ann would request a media tour, they were met with, oh, you have to go on the website. It's not available right now. Go on the website. It's just, if you have nothing to hide, why are you being so aggressive? It's so easy to let a reporter in there, walk around, and then leave. And if it's a good operation, why not do that? And you're met with so much opposition, so much aggressiveness at the front gate that you can't even go into the parking lot for these facilities, these former Walmart facilities.
Can an 8,000-year-old herb really increase your T, lower your body fat, and maximize your bedroom performance? Clinical trials say.
Is there any follow-up with the children later? Like, to follow up and see, are these children still alive? Have these children remained with these quote-unquote sponsors, these people who've purchased them? Is there any sort of follow-up mechanism in place? Did you have occurrence where you went back and would meet with the families again, or meet with any of these sponsors who bought these children?
No follow-up by the escorting agency, none whatsoever. I do know that case managers try to make one phone call, but I do know that this phone call, if they don't answer, if it's disconnected, that's it. They don't put any effort towards it. They don't leave a voicemail, nothing at all. It's just one follow-up phone call a month later. But this phone call is not even enforced. It's left up to the case managers to their own discretion whether they want to make it or not. If they want to make it, they can go ahead and do it. If they don't do it, they're not punished for it. And that's it. The kids are not given a phone number saying, hey, call this phone number if you're being harassed or abused. No. What's happening is the kids are calling the national trafficking hotlines or the abuse hotlines, and they're leaving messages saying, the government dropped me off here and I'm being abused, or I'm being pimped out, or I'm being made work. And they're calling the national hotline. So that's why there's reports out there of kids working in slaughterhouses, kids being pimped out. And it's terrible what's happening, but it's slowly starting to get out, but it's being suppressed by the mainstream media.
All praises and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahawashi Bahasham Ha Rakah Kodash, double honors unto our apostle elders, which rule great millstone well, and shalom to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel. May you endure into the end. Shalom wa abba babal. Alright, so as you just heard this man report, alright, from actual being an actual, I believe he was Homeland Security or immigration officer, all right, which actually was transporting children. I believe it'll tell you right here. It says the United States is the largest trafficker of children in the world. You hear that? The United States is the largest trafficker of children in the world. The so-called white man, the red devil, is ruling the world. That's why it's such a wicked place. The so-called white man is that red devil the Bible speaks of. Children that are illegally kidnapped and brought across the U.S.-Mexico border, which, like right now, you got all these Jake coming over. I've been hearing a report amongst the immigrants that the American government is promising them in their land, in their radio stations, all right, with people they're hiring to go out and pretty much like promote in an election. They're telling them that when they get here, they'll give them $2,000 a month. So this is why you have all these Jake coming up into America, pretty much being led to the slaughter. And then Esau releases his sheepdogs, which are these goons that cause violence, to push them out of their homes. And that's what's going to happen in America. Chaos, because the so-called white man, the red devil, all right, which is the wicked that ruled the world, they're bringing chaos, all right, so that they could bring forth a new world order, so that they can make the implantable micro CHIP mandatory for buying and selling. All right, if you take that, being an Israelite, the Israelites are the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, which been scattered throughout the world in slavery. If you accept that mark, which is that chip they want to put inside your body for buying and selling, you will be destroyed with that device in nuclear destruction, which is going to take place to America according to Holy Bible Scripture prophecy. All right, which is the word of Yahweh, and we know this through the Holy Spirit, which testifies of Yahawashi, the true Messiah, which is a so-called black man. All right, and salvation is only for the Israelites. But you see what they do to the Israelites, because these children that they're torturing and molesting and selling and using their organs and torturing and eating and doing all kinds of horrible things, like that man said, it's an open door to whatever, filthiness there is on the earth. These children are suffering at the hands of the so-called white American. All right, and he actually says it in this interview that when he drops kids off, it's always the so-called white Americans, right? He said the suburb, two cars in the garage, two, pretty much two same-sex, in the house, and they got children running around, or a family with, a husband and a wife of the Edomites, the so-called white devils, and they'll have some children running around. And he's like, why would they be adopting these, immigrants? And, he goes into how they would be using them for organ harvesting. All right, sex abuse, So the so-called white man is that devil the Bible speaks of. It says children that are illegally kidnapped and brought across the U.S.-Mexico border, are then sold off to wealthy Americans, wealthy so-called white Americans, which are the red devil the Bible speaks of. We know that we are here only for a short time, because this red devil is being revealed. So now he has to come down with great wrath, knowing that he has but a short time, which is going to trigger his judgment, which the Lord's going to come down with his angels. It says used as sex slaves and worse. And who are these that they're using as this way? The Israelites, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, which have been scattered throughout the world in slavery. All right, we were at camp yesterday, and while we were at camp, I could have swore that there was like 3 groups, right? You had 2 women one time, and then 2 men, which they looked like they were in the alphabet soup, and they had Jake kids, like they adopted them, and they were holding hands with them. And really what's going on in that house is child abuse, molestation, and shit like that, right? And then the indoctrination of that alphabet soup, of Babylon juice, that confusion that they teach, which calls this place Sodom and Gomorrah, because it's backwards. It's an abomination to commit such acts. It says, if you can imagine anything worse, it's happening, and the corporate media is too scared to touch the story. And that's not true. They're involved, okay? They were created on purpose to be a smokescreen to these wicked acts. All right? So all you devils that are in bed together, and you wicked 2/3 that participate in this beast system and you're going to take that device to, continue in this beast system, you're going to be destroyed with this beast man, the so-called white man, and his system, which is going to be done by fire, nuclear fire. All right, after they make that device mandatory for buying and selling. Let me grab Isaiah 13. All right, the Lord's coming in judgment against the wicked and them that do wickedly, which includes those 2/3. Because did you see how it's a lot of Jake working the system just for a paycheck? Just selling out for a paycheck, which that can't even afford them a decent lifestyle. Let me get Isaiah 13, verse 9. Behold, the day of Yahweh cometh cruel, both in wrath and fierce anger, to lay the land desolate. And that land it's talking about is America. And he shall destroy the sinners thereof out of it. Talking about them 2/3 that are part of the system. All right. It says, for the stars of heaven and the constellations thereof shall not give their light. The sun shall be darkened in his going forth, and the moon shall not cause her light to shine. And I will punish the world for their evil, which what they're doing right there, that's fucking evil. This whole country is in the act of human trafficking children for different rituals, whether they be, cannibalism, organ harvesting, sexual abuse. The list could go on forever what they're doing to these children of evil deeds and wickedness. And the wicked for their iniquity, and I will cause the arrogancy of the proud to cease, which is the so-called white man. He thinks he could continue, like in that movie American Carnage. They think their plan is, proof. There's no error in their way of thinking, but they're not upright in their mind. They're gonna be destroyed. All right, and them that follow them are gonna be destroyed too, and will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible, which is that Edomite. He's gonna destroy the pride of them by destroying America, which is their heaven. All right, where they're able to do all this wicked ass shit, and they push this vibration throughout the world. It says, I will make a man more precious than fine gold, dealing with the elect men of the nation of Israel. It says, even a man, so making a man even than the golden wedge of Ophir. So the way the people searched for the gold in America in the past, that's how the Lord's going to make Isaiah 4:1, Isaiah 14:1. When he brings the Israelite 1/3 to the elect, it's going to be like when they searched for gold in the past. Therefore, I will shake the heavens, and the earth shall remove out of her place because of the nuclear destruction of America. In the wrath of Yahweh of hosts, which the hosts are the armies, the Lord controls the armies of heaven, the angels which follow Yahawashi, the nuclear missiles, and the armies of men, which are being gathered for this last day of judgment. And in the day of his fierce anger, and it shall be as a chase roe, and as a sheep that no man taketh up, so very vulnerable, they shall every man turn to his own people, and flee every one into his own land, because of World War III. Every one that is found shall be thrust through, and every one that is joined unto them shall fall by the sword. So everyone joined to this so-called white man, you're going to be destroyed, all right, because his blessing is the sword, And he was given a great sword, that nuclear destruction. All right. It says, their children also shall be dashed to pieces before their eyes. Their houses shall be spoiled and their wives ravished. Which that's what's going to happen in America. All right. The children are going to be killed. The women are going to be raped. The men are going to die in the famine. All right. It says, behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which the Medes represent Russia, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it, because they got very much wealth themselves, but they want to see these nuclear weapons that the Lord's put in their heart to use. Their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces, which that nuclear destruction is going to destroy young men and break their bodies up into the elements, literally turn them to dust. And they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. It's going to burn up women and children that are still being, woven together in the woman's womb. They're going to mount. Their eye shall not spare children. All right, little children, little blonde hair, blue eyed Betty, little, snotty nose, freckled Jeff, they're going to burn up right along with Jesus worshiping Jose, you know what I mean? Or a drug, whatever wickedness Jake is in, they're going to die with the Edomite, all right, in the nuclear destruction of America. It says, and Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, which is America, the beauty of the Chaldees, excellency, the witchcraft of America, shall be as when Yahweh overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. All right, which that's what they're doing with these children. They're sodomizing them. All right, which this is the modern day Sodom and Gomorrah. So the Lord's going to destroy it. And how was it done? It was done by fire coming down from heaven. The Lord's going to do the same thing using nuclear missile in this generation. It shall never be inhabited. No one will ever live here again. Neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation. Neither shall the Arabian pitch tent there, all right, because you got those Arabians that live in the Sahara Desert, one of the harshest places in the world, but they're not even going to be able to live here. That's how bad it's going to be in America. It's going to be a desert forever. It says, neither shall the shepherds make their fold there, okay? It says, but wild beasts of the desert shall lie there, and their houses shall be full of doleful creatures, and owls shall dwell there, and satyrs shall dance there. And the wild beasts of the islands shall cry their desolate houses, and dragons in their pleasant palaces, and her time is near to come, and her days shall not be prolonged. And this is talking about America. America is going to be turned into a desert, all right? And after so long, eventually desert creatures are going to inhabit it. Only those creatures will live here, and no man will ever live in America again. It will be a monument to the judgment, the great judgment that Yahweh put upon the wicked and them that did wickedly. And we're going to glorify Yahweh by Shem Yahawashi, in his righteous judgment. Turning America, Babylon the Great, Sodom and Gomorrah 2023 version, into a wasteland, into a desert. Kala Yahweh Shem Yahawashi. All praises and glory to Yahweh Shem Yahawashi. Double honors to our apostle elders, which taught us the truth and ruled great millstone well. And double honors to our brothers, even, that keep pushing this truth, brothers, keep enduring. I hope you brothers endure into the end. Wa ababa ball, wa Shalak, Edom, Idumea, Mashapayim, Babakusha, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahawashi. May the Lord send evil and judgment on the Edomites for their wicked deeds against Israel, the Israelites, and may, Babylon fall just as it is prophesied and not be prolonged. The water, Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahushai for this truth. Endure, brothers.